Hello and greetings everyone. I'm Rajiv Valikala and welcome to another edition of Wild Exposures. Today we are going to talk about something very unique and different. When we talk about wildlife and safaris, we always think it should be either in Asia or in Africa or South America. You seldom think about Europe as a wildlife destination. A lot of people travel to Europe mainly for cultural purposes, um, but of course, little is known about the forest, which I'm going to talk to you about, which is the Bialowieza Primeval Forest, which is located in Poland. This is in the Poland-Belarus border, and it's a very special place because this is the land of the European bison. That too is going to be a bit confusing. People might think bison and Europe because the bison, which is one of the largest species of wild cattle in the world, usually related to the Americas, the Wild West, and places like Yellowstone and the frontier. But little is known about the bisons in Europe. There are two species of bisons surviving in the wild now. This is an illustration to show the two species. There is the American bison, which is found in in North America, mainly USA and Canada. And also you have the European bison, who is known as the Wisent, which is another name used for the bison, as well as Zuber in Polish. So the Wisent or the European bison is found in Poland, in Romania, and few other countries. But talking about the history of this amazing animal, uh, it was almost extinct because there was only around 6 to 9 animals left in the wild, and they were spread out afterwards to different zoos. This is the onset of World War One, and they were completely decimated in the wild, and they were literally extinct in the wild during that time. And thanks to a lot of conservationists and scientists getting together and trying to help to revive the population, we have around 2,000 European bison found in the wilds of Bialowieza Forest, and it's an amazing conservation success story. And even now, globally, there's around 6,000 in bison found in Europe, scattered around different areas. And physiologically, the European bison is slightly taller than the American counterpart, and they can reach up to 1,000 kilograms in weight, and they're very imposing. Sometimes they're 6 to 6.5 feet tall at the shoulder, and one of the most intimidating and impressive animals you can find in the world. And this is the largest land mammal in Europe. And talking about the home it lives in, Bialowieza, it's Europe's largest remaining primeval lowland forest. So it's an ancient forest, and this is the type of forest which when we picture the fairy tales and those ancient old European stories about the deep dark forest. This is one of the last remaining large tracts of this forest left in the world, and the bison is king in this region. I was lucky enough to travel to Poland in 2018, and my ambition was to somehow find and photograph these amazing creatures. It was a very unlikely situation because many people who I contacted, including the naturalists and guides who took me around, were very skeptical whether we would be able to see them, because unlike the American bison, who's always out in the plains and more gregarious, these bison are not seen often out in the open and mostly tend to hide in the deep forests. Seasonally, they do come out into the meadows. They are seen in period of August, which is the springtime, and also the beginning of spring in March. They're seen out in the open. But even during winter, they sometimes are seen in certain meadows and open areas. When they come out looking for food, but it's very unpredictable when and where you would see them. And I was very lucky as I was driving through the forest. I noticed a few cyclists had stopped and they were taking some pictures of something, and I immediately asked to stop the car, and I noticed that there was a bison out there. I jumped out of the car, took my cameras, and went to see what it was. And it was a young bison who was out in the open, and it was sharpening his horns on some logs. And behind the young guy, deeper in the forest, I noticed this giant bull who was there. So I slowly walked around and approached this guy. It was a very imposing figure, about 6 feet at the shoulder, very muscular, and yeah, he's putting his tongue out at me. Just kidding. He just actually cleaning itself around. So as you can notice, it has a black tongue. So this was a very imposing animal, and it was first grazing on the grass, and suddenly it lifted his head up and looked at me. So it's made my dream come true in Poland. This is the younger bull which I saw first, rubbing his face on some of the logs which have been cut up. So we are very lucky because the rest of the time we looked around during the evening and the morning the next day we were not that lucky in seeing any bison. So this overall was a very memorable and unforgettable sighting. But the park itself, the forest and the park itself is very special when it comes to its biodiversity. If you spend longer, there's a lot of amazing things you can see in this park. So this is a photograph taken by one of my naturalists. Is during fall, which is during autumn. A lot of the bison come out into the meadows. So you can see there are females and young calves as well as big bulls. See them out in the open. So it's a huge extent of forest and a wide network of pathways, footpaths, roads. So it's a mix of going by car as well as walking. And you need inside information by locals and people who are living in the area. So that's why it's important to get a really good naturalist and guides, which really help to give the enhanced experience in this forest. So you can see some of the pictures taken by my guides. So it's quite special to see these amazing large, animals in Europe. So this is how the beautiful forest looks like. It's so lush and green during the summer and spring. And you see some of the most ancient oak trees which you can find in Europe in this forest. It's beautiful. And besides the bison, if you are truly lucky, you might be able to see the top predator in this forest, which is the gray wolf. They are not very easy to see. Uh, Normally, early springtime and also winter is the time where the wolves are most active. So you can see if you're lucky, you can get a brief sighting in one of these trails. These are some of the trails you use. You can go by car as well as walk. This is another very special predator which you can see, the Eurasian lynx. Um, this quite difficult to see, almost impossible. But during late March, early April is the mating season for these amazing cats, and you have quite a good chance of seeing one. But of course, patience, luck, and a lot of other factors need to come into play. You have to understand animal behavior. So that is why it's important to go with a good guide or naturalist who knows the land and who knows the behavior of these animals. And also another giant found in this area is the moose. Also, they call it elk, but it's the same species which you find in in the Americas. It's a giant animal, almost 7 feet at the shoulder, the largest species of deer in the world. As you can see, you can find them in some of the marshy areas around Bialowieza. There are a few lakes and waterways, and there are a few lookout points as well as you go around. Some watchtowers which you can climb and scan the area to look around for these giant animals. Besides this, you can see amazing bird life like the black woodpecker here, and the highlight would be to see the pygmy owl, which is famous in this area. So your birding guide, your naturalist would know certain locations where it's easy to find them, and they're mostly in the deep forest, so there's a bit of walking as well, but it's quite astounding and refreshing to be enveloped in that beautiful dark forest. So, other than the wildlife and the forest, there are so many historical things to see in this area. So, Bialowieza originally was the hunting grounds for the Lithuanian princes and kings, and later to the Polish monarchy, and they used this as their private hunting grounds. And subsequently, it became the preferred hunting lodge for the Russian Tsars, Tsar Nicholas II had almost exclusively hunted in this area and had visited Bialowieza more than 6 times. And this was one of his private hunting lodges. There was been an old palace as well in this area, which was burned down. But the village of Bialowieza has a lot of heritage sites and locations where you can, like this old Russian Orthodox church, St. Nicholas's Church. It was a very unique place which we saw with some amazing architecture and very cozy, charming places of accommodation. So this is where I stayed in. It was like a small cottage. So there are a lot of very reasonable, budget-friendly accommodations in this area, and the rooms and the places you stay almost take you back in time, almost to an area which you might see in the old movies. So it's quite unique and charming to see these places still well preserved in this part of Poland. And of course, I know it's not the best time to be tempting you, but the food is amazing. There are amazing restaurants in that area and serving some traditional Polish cuisine, and most of the cuisine is specialized to the region with a lot of produce from the forest. So you'll definitely enjoy the food as well. And there's an old railway station which the Tsar used to arrive in, and the railway station has been converted to a luxurious resort of sorts where there was a restaurant. This was used by Tsar Nicholas, and it's now a very high-end, beautiful restaurant with some old furniture and architecture, which a lot of people visit, even if they do not dine here, just to see what it looks like with some antique furniture and the setting, which is almost it takes you on a journey back in time. And some of the carts in the railway carts have been converted to luxury saloons, luxury hotel rooms, which you can rent out. So these are some amazing things on offer there. If you really can if you can and want to travel in style, this is the way to go. But of course, there are a lot of affordable options as well to stay in. So this is me with this is my friend Adam, who I went with. We call him Adash, and this is us celebrating our sighting with the bison. So you can see this is Zubrovska vodka, which is bison grass vodka. It's an acquired taste which you have to try if you are there, and Zuba beer. So we're having a good time. Good food, good people, and also this is my naturalist Pavel, who showed me around and helped to interpret most of the details of the forest, the trees, the ecology, and also many of the bird species which we saw. So it's definitely a place which I would visit again. And if you are visiting Europe, I would highly recommend anyone to visit this amazing forest. But of course, guiding and proper naturalists are very important in order to get the maximum out of your experience. So, a few points why I think Bialowieza is special. It's a unique wildlife experience like none other in Europe. It's the best place in the world to see wild European bison. The diversity of wildlife is amazing. You get to see so many species from, besides the bison, if you're lucky, you can see the wolf, the lynx, badgers, foxes, so many other amazing mammals which you find in the European wildlife landscape. Amazing bird life, the pygmy owl, the black woodpecker, so many other species of woodpeckers and birds. Seasonally, you get certain species of crane visiting this area. So it's amazing for wildlife, and also it's one of the last primeval European forests. Definitely, it's the largest forest, ancient forest which is left, and it's something uh, which has to be visited, and I think it's one of the most unique places to see for yourself. And of course, uh, the park also has some excellent naturalists and guides with in-depth knowledge and good English as well, which will help you to enhance your experience. The guest houses are amazing. You know, you get a charming, old school, old world feeling when you stay there. Almost takes you back in time. Great food and hospitality, and of course, you can combine this wildlife experience with the cultural tour in Poland if you can visit Krakow and few other sites in the country. It's a very developed, amazing place which you can visit. Historically, it's a very special country, and it's one of the most amazing wildlife experiences which I've had in my life. And if you have any questions, please do let me know. And if you like to arrange a private tour, or please do let me know, and I can make the arrangements for you. And also, please do leave your comments. And I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Rajiv signing out from Wild Exposures. Until next time, take care and stay safe.